The story begins with an unexpected twist that caught the attention of the entire world. Belarus, a country often seen as Russia's closest ally in the ongoing conflict with Ukraine, has made a surprising announcement that could reshape the dynamics of the war. Observers across Europe and beyond are watching closely, trying to understand whether this move signals a shift in loyalty, a tactical maneuver, or a carefully calculated gamble by President Alexander Lukashenko. In simple terms, Belarus has presented a new chapter in the war that many thought was moving in only one direction. The summary of the story is that Belarus has unveiled a decision that challenges assumptions about its role in the Russia-Ukraine war, and this development might either escalate tensions further or open an unexpected path toward negotiations. Hello everyone, welcome back to the World Conflict Monitor channel. Please subscribe to my channel, because here we bring you the latest updates, deep explanations, and clear insights into global conflicts that shape our world. Today, we dive into Belarus' big announcement and what it truly means for the Russia-Ukraine war, for Europe, and for the global balance of power. On the exterior, Belarus has always been portrayed as a loyal partner of Russia. The country has allowed Russian troops to operate from its territory, provided logistical support, and aligned its political messaging with Moscow. From the outside, it has looked like a one-sided relationship, where Minsk follows the Kremlin's lead and avoids independent action. But this announcement changes the exterior picture. Belarus is now projecting an image of independence, hinting that it is not merely an extension of Russia but a state with its own priorities and strategies. The exterior of the situation now looks more complicated than before, with Belarus showing the world that it cannot be taken for granted as a silent player. Inside Belarus, the situation is more delicate and sensitive. The interior reality is that the people of Belarus have long been divided about the war. While some remain aligned with Russia due to historical and cultural ties, others feel trapped, dragged into a war they never wanted. Lukashenko has faced domestic challenges, protests, and a need to balance his survival as a leader with his obligations to Moscow. This announcement is a short but powerful reminder that the interior of Belarus is not calm. It is a space filled with tension, uncertainty, and a leadership walking on a tightrope between dependence on Russia and the desire for sovereignty. When we talk about performance, Belarus has been performing a careful act since the beginning of the war. Its performance in the international arena has been one of a supporting actor, standing behind Russia, applauding its moves, and providing assistance. But now the performance has shifted. Belarus is stepping into the spotlight, delivering lines of its own, and trying to show that it can alter the script. The performance is no longer passive, it is active, and it has captured global headlines. Analysts are now measuring Belarus' ability to perform as an independent geopolitical actor, testing whether it can carry such a role without collapsing under pressure from Russia or the West. Safety features in this context refer to the mechanisms Belarus is using to protect itself. Facing threats from multiple sides, dependence on Russian military power, Western sanctions, and internal unrest, Belarus is seeking safety features to shield itself from collapse. One such feature is its diplomatic language, carefully crafted to avoid outright betrayal of Moscow while still signaling openness to alternatives. Another safety feature is its reliance on military deterrence, maintaining close ties with Russian defense structures to ensure that any external threat is discouraged. And yet, these features are fragile, for they depend on variables beyond Belarus' control. The war itself is unpredictable, and Belarus' safety mechanisms may not withstand prolonged pressure. The unique selling point of Belarus' announcement lies in its timing and symbolism. By speaking up now, Minsk is making itself relevant in a war where smaller players are often ignored. It is selling itself to the world as a pivotal state that can either escalate the war further by aligning fully with Moscow or reduce tensions by carving out a space for negotiation. Its unique selling point is that Belarus has leverage. Its territory, its relationship with Russia, its role as a transit route for supplies, and its ability to act as a bridge, or as a barrier. No other country in this war can offer such a combination of influence and vulnerability. When it comes to price, the cost of Belarus' move will be high. If Minsk is seen as betraying Moscow, the price will be retaliation from Russia, economic punishment, and possibly political destabilization. If it leans too heavily toward Russia, the price will be even more sanctions, isolation from Europe, and a reputation as a mere satellite state. The price of independence is steep, and Belarus must decide whether it is willing to pay it. Every step it takes in this war comes with financial costs, diplomatic costs, and risks to the stability of its own government. In conclusion for this part, Belarus' big announcement is not just a statement, it is a strategic signal that could alter the course of the Russia-Ukraine war. By projecting independence on the exterior, balancing tensions in the interior, improving its performance on the global stage, relying on fragile safety features, highlighting its unique selling points, and calculating the price of its choices, Belarus is making itself a central player. The world must now pay close attention, because what happens in Minsk could influence what happens in Moscow, Kyiv, Brussels, and Washington. This is only the beginning of a new chapter in a war that continues to surprise us all. The story of Belarus' announcement cannot be fully understood without examining the background that has shaped the country's current position. For decades, Belarus has walked a fine line between asserting its independence and leaning heavily on Russia for support. Since the collapse of the Soviet Union, Minsk has often presented itself as a loyal partner of Moscow, but this loyalty has always been tempered with a deep fear of being completely absorbed or controlled. The announcement we are analyzing today fits into this long tradition of balancing survival with sovereignty. It is not only about the Russia-Ukraine war but about Belarus' long struggle to define its place in Eastern Europe. Hello everyone, welcome back to the World Conflict Monitor channel. Please subscribe to my channel if you haven't yet, because we're unpacking the deeper story of Belarus' big move in September 2025, and understanding it requires a careful look at history, power dynamics, and strategy. On the exterior, Belarus is showing the world a new face. The announcement suggests that Belarus does not want to remain invisible or dependent. Its leadership understands that in global politics, appearances matter just as much as actions. By stepping forward with a bold declaration, Belarus has changed its exterior design, almost like repainting the outside of a building to attract attention. This fresh exterior signals that Belarus has ambitions beyond being a silent supporter. It wants to be noticed, consulted, and included in the bigger conversation about the war's future. From the outside, Belarus now appears more like an independent actor than a shadow of Russia. Inside, however, the picture is more complex and fragile. The interior of Belarus is marked by political pressure, economic struggles, and the weight of public opinion. Many Belarusians have suffered under the effects of Western sanctions, declining trade, and the fear of war spilling across the border. The interior atmosphere is not one of triumph but of uncertainty. Lukashenko, who has ruled for decades, knows that his grip on power depends on preventing unrest from boiling over. The short but significant reality of the interior is that every major move he makes abroad has a direct effect on the stability of his regime at home. That is why this announcement, while bold on the outside, carries nervous energy within. In terms of performance, Belarus is attempting to play a bigger role on the world stage than it has in recent years. For much of the conflict, its performance was secondary, allowing Russian troops to launch operations from its territory, echoing Moscow's rhetoric, and reinforcing the idea that it was simply a reliable partner. But with this new move, Belarus is performing differently. It is speaking with its own voice, making choices that attract the attention of both allies and adversaries. The performance now involves more complexity, partnership with Russia on one hand, hints of dialogue with other players on the other. Whether this performance will be convincing or dismissed as theater remains to be seen. Safety features remain a central concern for Belarus. No announcement of this scale can be made without backup plans, shields, or insurance against disaster. One safety feature is its continued alliance with Russia, which guarantees that Belarus is not isolated in terms of military defense. Another is its use of diplomacy, leaving doors open to communication with European states, China, and even neutral powers. A third safety feature lies in Lukashenko's survival strategy, presenting himself as indispensable to both Moscow and Minsk, ensuring that no one can easily remove him without destabilizing the region further. These safety features are like protective systems in a vehicle, necessary, but often untested until crisis strikes. What makes Belarus' announcement stand out is its unique selling point. Unlike other small states caught between great powers, Belarus has something valuable to offer. Its territory sits at the heart of Eastern Europe, acting as a corridor between Russia and the European Union. Its relationship with Moscow gives it access to sensitive information and influence, while its exposure to the West gives it bargaining chips. The unique selling point is that Belarus is both a frontline state and a mediator in waiting. It can act as a spoiler if ignored, or as a bridge if engaged. Few countries can claim such a dual identity, and Belarus is now marketing itself on this unique role. But every unique selling point has a cost, and Belarus knows that the price of its decision will be enormous. By making a statement that challenges expectations, Minsk risks angering Russia, which has little tolerance for disobedience. It also risks further sanctions from the West if it is seen as insincere or manipulative. The price could include economic hardship, political isolation, or even internal unrest if Belarusians perceive that their country is gambling with their future. Yet Lukashenko may believe that the price of silence would be even higher: irrelevance, dependence, and eventual collapse into Russia's shadow. The calculation of price is, therefore, central to understanding why Belarus chose this moment to speak. The conclusion at this stage is that Belarus' announcement is more than just words, it is a strategic move loaded with risk and opportunity. It changes the exterior perception of Belarus, reflects an interior struggle, upgrades its performance on the world stage, leans on fragile safety features, emphasizes a unique selling point, and acknowledges a heavy price. The full impact will depend on how Moscow, Kyiv, Brussels, and Washington respond, but one thing is certain: Belarus has forced itself into the center of the global conversation, and that is a victory of its own kind.